Ahmad Wa, Panya Wa, Yerushalayim, stand and face Jerusalem. Brother Daniel, read everything. Blessing of the Sabbath. Barakatah Yahweh, Basham Yahweh Asherat, Natan Lanawe, Hashabat, Bashalawam, the water, Amen. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shah, that gives to us the Sabbath in peace. Thank you, so be it. The Aliyah Asherayim Achad, Psalms 121. Anya Harayim Mayim Yimye Oh Harim Mayan Yabawa Isaiah Yabawa Mayahawa Shai Shai Shemayim Warataza La Yanathan Lamawat Regalia Yala Yanawam Shashwamarka Hanela Yanawam Wala Yashan Shashwama Yashvalib Yahweh Shamaria Yahweh Tazalib Ayo Yim Yawamam Hashamash La Hakaya Wayarak La Balayela Yahweh Yashamaria Makab Ra Yashama Napashya Yahweh Yashama Hawalakya Wabawa Aya my third will I will Basham Yahweh Shai for what Amen.
Psalms 121. I will lift up my eyes unto the hills, and where cometh my help? My help cometh from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel, neither shall slumber nor sleep. The Lord is my keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon my right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thy from all evil. And he shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth and forever. Amen. Amen.
Amen. I think that's even forevermore. Last part. Shema Yasharala, Hero Israel, Deuteronomy 6 and 4. Shema Yasharala, Yahweh, Eloheinu, Yahweh, Echad. Shema Yasharala, Yahweh, Eloheinu, Yahweh, Echad. Shema Yasharala, Yahweh, Eloheinu, Yahweh, Echad.
Deuteronomy 6 and 4. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord our God is one Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thapala Yahweh, the Lord's Prayer. Matthew 6 and 9 down to 13. Abiyanahu, Shabbat Shemayim, Kodash, Hayya, Shamka, Yahweh, Malakwavka, Taba'at, Ratazawanka, Hayya, Aisha, Barataza, Ka, Bashamayim, Nathan Lanawa, Lacham, Yawam, Zad, Wasalak Lanawa, Kabawat Nawa, Kabawat Nawa, Kasalak Nawa, Kabawat Yanawa, Wala Abiyar Nawa, O Nasayawan, Abo, Hawashai Nawa, Marai, Kayeb, Lakab, Hamalakwat, Wa'ala, Wathaparat, Waiwalam, Amen.
Matthew 6:69. After this manner, therefore pray ye, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Amen. Aisharamatazawa, the Ten Commandments. Exodus chapter 20, verse 3. Stop at verse 17. La'ab, Yahayab, Lakab, Alahayim, Akharim, Alpanyab, La'ab, Thaishab, Lakab, Kosol, Wala'ab, Thaibadam, La'ab, Balakwaka, Shamwa, Yahweh, Alahayaka, Lashawab, Zakab, Af, Hayawam, Hashabaf, Lakodashwa, Kabad, Abiyaka, Wa Amaka, La'ab, Taratazak, La'ab, Thana'ab, La'ab, Thaganab, La'ab, Thainab, Shakur, La'ab, Tachamad, Ko, Asherat, Lara'ika, Amen.
Exodus 20 at verse 3. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven images of the likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water underneath the earth. But thou shalt not bow thyself to them, bow thyself to them, nor serve them. For I am the Lord thy God. I am the Lord thy God, and I am a jealous God, visiting iniquity on the fathers, upon the children, upon the third and fourth generation of those that hate me, and showing mercy for thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take thy name, the Lord God, in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. 6 days shall thou labor and do all thy work, for the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. Thou shalt not do any work. Thou shalt know thy son or thy daughter.
Take your time. Read it again.
For the Lord thy God shall not do any work. Thou nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that is in them. Is rested on the seventh day, and therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor thy father and thy mother, and the days on the days they be long upon the land which the Lord thy God has given thee. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. For thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. Amen.
Amen. Shagwa, be seated. Barakate Hawa ba Shimi Hawashai Asharan from the now Parya Gapin Tuwada Aman. La Yahawa ba Shimi Hawashai Yashra. English translation: Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives to us the fruit of the vine. Thank you, Sophia. To Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, with Israel. Amadwa upon you, Jerusalem, stand and face Jerusalem. Barakata Yahweh, Haggadah, Rakawam, Abiyah, Wanawa, Alyawan, Malak, Shao Shamayim Warataza Wakadabaryam Kayayam Wagam Hamashayak Mayahawa Harawanawa Ahabnawa Hapalab Yawa Aitaza Yahawisha Zakarnawa Yahawa Bartazawan Ainka Yasha'ala Izarnawa Bana Wasap Yasha'ala Oh Nanawa Yam Yan Aitha Kayawamyam Makwadam Babakusha Shalak Mike Allah Watazwadak Alahayam La Maganawa Rapharnawa Washima Alnawa Bakwa Shalak Haruka Shao Yahweh Lanawa Lamadnawa Rabiam Kakama Tabawana Wada I Shao the Barka Basham Yahweh the Wada Them Yad Why Walam Man. English translation. Blessed are you, Yahweh, the great, merciful, mighty, terrible, most high power, King of heaven and earth and all things living, and also the anointed from Yahweh, our Lord, our friend, the wonderful counselor, Yahweh Shai. Remember us, Yahweh, favorably, your people Israel. Help us build and gather Israel, most high, we beg you, right now, like the days of old. Please send Michael and the righteous powers to protect us, heal us, and watch over us. Mainly send the spirit of Yahweh Shai to us, to teach us much wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of thy word. In the name of Yahweh Shai, thank you, always and forever, so be it. Repeat the Hebrew only. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us the law. Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Asherab, Natan Lanawa, Hatawarab. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us light to see. Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Asherab, Natan Lanawa, Awar, Lara Awath. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us the ram's horn to call the people. Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Asherab, Natan Lanawa, Karan, Ha'ayod, Lakorah, Ha'aim. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us the olive oil to anoint Israel. Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Asherab, Natan Lanawa, Hasheman, Zayef, Lamashak, Yasha'ala. Yeshua, be seated. Someone get the blinds, Papa Krishan.
Oh, you know. You got it, thank you. Oh, I got it. What are the people? Oh. Isaiah, come on the table, come here. I keep walking your feet. You talking to him?
Mm-hmm.
You coming? Rodney be here. Rock my fire be here.
Okay, so Shalom Yasharala.
Wow.
So shalom everybody here in
Shalom.
Philly School. Thank you.
Hello.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Okay. Shalom everybody here in Philly. I know we say here in Philly, people are like, oh, who me? Yes, shalom, peace. So shalom everybody here in the Philly School. Shalom everybody watching us on live stream, and shalom everyone listening in on teleconference. Welcome to Hayat Shrala Kanas of the Congregation of Israel, where we teach that the so-called Black, Latin, and Native Americans are the 12 tribes of Israel. And that we fall into a lower state politically, economically, even religiously, because we broke the laws of God found in the Bible given to us by Moses. And that we come out of this lower state that we fall into by turning back to these commandments we broke, by following Jesus Christ as our example. So today, one way we do that is by keeping the Sabbath holy. And as regularly scheduled, we go through Sabbath service. Today's Sabbath reading is going to be in the Apocrypha, 1 Esdras chapter 4 and chapter 5. Once again, 1 Esdras 4 and 5 is going to be our reading for today. Make sure you put that in your notes.
Thank you, Native.
The second?
Mm-hmm.
That's 1 Esdras.
First, second, 4 and 5. Well, which one
First.
First. Okay.
I said second, Salaki. I thought I said first. My name is Nabiaz Rababal. I'll be doing the service today. For your records, according to the Gregorian calendar, June 30th, 2018. According to the Hebrew calendar, is what, brother?
Not 18.
What is it according to the Hebrew calendar? You told me last night?
26.
The Hebrew calendar.
The Hebrew calendar is 4/26/18.
4/26. Not what you said before, remember? You got it right.
It was the 18th.
Right.
It's 18th today.
Right. What month?
18th.
And you said the what month?
4/18.
Right.
2000.
Don't worry about the year.
Or about the year 4/18.
Right. 4th month and the 18th day.
Right.
I was trying to give you a little shine there since you were proactive on that.
4/18.
Right. So it's the 4th month and the 18th day according to the Hebrew calendar. Okay, so last time we read in Esdras, we had these 3 men who work in a court of Darius, king of the Medes, and they put together a contest where they said, let's come up with a riddle or a wise statement to say, what is strongest above all, right? Whoever has the wisest statement, who's found the most wise, he shall receive reward. He shall be considered the cousin of Darius, king of the Persians and the Medes, right? He'll get all types of honor and glory, be granted certain requests, etc., and so forth. So it's like a contest of sorts. And one of these men is a Hebrew in captivity. First, we got the first statement of one of the servants that were in the king's court. He said that wine was the strongest. He went into his reasons why he thought wine was the strongest as far as the influence that it has on the minds of men and women to impair judgment, etc., and so forth. He gave his peace, his understanding of why he thought that was strongest in 1 Esdras 3. So now 1 Esdras 4, we're going to get to the next servant, see what his answer is as far as who's the most powerful or what is the strongest. This is 1 Esdras chapter 4 and verse 1. And it reads, everybody has it, right? First Esdras chapter 4 and verse 1, it says, then the second that had spoken of the strength of the king began to say, verse 2, O ye men, do not men excel in strength that bear rule over sea and land, all things in them? But yet the king is more mighty, for he is Lord of all these things, and hath dominion over them. Whatsoever he commandeth them, they do. Right? So now he's going above, he says, the king, right? Who's strongest than the king? Going into his case why he thinks the king is strongest above all. Going into the dominion that the king has to rule over the people and the animals and the land and the rivers, etc. and so forth. What he says goes.
You won't read in Hebrew
No.
Out of Apostle?
We don't have this in Hebrew. We don't have this in Hebrew.
Oh, okay.
I mean, if you find it, let me know.
Oh. Okay.
You never noticed that?
Yeah, but maybe you want to do it today.
I mean, I can read it in Greek if you want. There's a Greek version. The Septuagint. The Septuagint was the Greek translation of the Bible and includes these books in the Apocrypha. But my Greek I'm not too fluent in Greek, so I don't know if I can help you there.
Me neither. It's kind of rough for me too.
I know certain words, but I'm more familiar with the Hebrew. So, I'll read verse 3 again. It says, but yet the king is more mighty, for he is Lord of all these things, and hath dominion over them. Whatsoever he commandeth them, they do. Verse 4, if he bid them make war, the one against the other, they do it. If he send them out against the enemies, they go and break down mountains, walls, and towers. Right? So it's going into the power of command that the king has, right? Over matters of war and also domestic affairs, right? Verse 5, they slay and are slain, and transgress not the king's commandment. If they get the victory, they bring all to the king, as well the spoil, and all things else, as all things else. Likewise, for those that are no soldiers, and have not to do with wars, but use husbandry, when they have reaped again that which they have sown, they bring it to the king and compel one another to pay tribute unto the king. Right? So a certain portion is supposed to what? Go to the king, go to his court, his office, right? To fund his affairs. You see that with every empire. You even see that when it comes to our law as well. We did the same thing. Before we had kings, right? We had the priests who will bring our tenth or whatever we earned to the priests. Then when the people begged Samuel for a king at the end of the time of Judges, right? First, Samuel was like reluctant, saying, "What do you need that for? We got the Heavenly Father. He's our King in heaven." And the Heavenly Father said, "No, hear out their request, grant it to them. But here's the cost to have a king." It goes into all the details as far as what's required of a king, what's required of the people if they want a king. It tells you that they had to give a tenth of what they earned to him in his office, along with the priests, or along with the Levites, and everything else. And said he had the ability to call their sons and daughters into his command to work in his office, whether it be his arming or as cooks, as doormen, as whatever, right? Whatever he needed.
Would that be us over here being like paying taxes?
Right. As far as this kingdom, right?
Okay.
That's exactly it. And you can link that with verse 6. I'll get it real quick in 1 Samuel 8. What I'm talking about. All right, question online?
Where will we leave off at?
I read First Esdras 4 and verse 6.
Okay, yeah. So what husband?
Oh, husbandry is like working in the vineyard, growing grapes that you use for making wine.
Okay.
Yeah, so a certain type of agriculture.
Message up with First Samuel.
Yeah, it's like working in the vineyard. That's what husbandry is.
Verse 6.
Say what?
They match that up with verse 6. Match it up with what?
1 Samuel chapter 8. First Samuel chapter 8. Here's right, verse 10 down to 18. 1 Samuel 8, 10 to 18. As far as the people demanding a king, but we'll see what was required as far as a king in righteousness. When Israel wanted a king, just like the other nations had a king. And I'll read this real quick and then we'll continue. Because ultimately Samuel was right, but the Most High, he knew what we had to learn over generations, and that's like one of the biggest, you know, I say mystery, but one of the biggest things we had to learn as a people is that there's no king but the Most High.
Right.
He's ultimately our king in the end anyway. And all Christ did was to show us and to lead us right back to the Father anyway. I guess Christ is going to come back and make a second coming, reign with us 1,000 years. He's going to be leading us right back to worshiping the Most High already, as we should have did from the beginning. Because Christ himself worships the Most High. But that's just the carnal aspect of Israel, always needing to have a leader, somebody physical in our face, saying, go here, do this. We're supposed to just trust in the Most High and his spirit based on what we read.
Right.
But this is the journey that we as a nation have to learn to experience. This is First Samuel chapter 8, in verse 10. It says, and Samuel told all the words of Yahweh unto the people that asked of him a king. He said, this will be the manner of the king that shall reign over you. He will take your sons and appoint them for himself, for his chariots to be his horsemen, and some shall run before his chariots. And he will appoint him captains over thousands and captains over fifties, and will set them to ear his ground, right? And to reap his harvest, and to make his instruments of war, instruments of his chariots. That's like what we're talking about, right? It says, and he will take your daughters to be confectionaries, to be cooks, and to be bakers. He will take your fields and your vineyards, olive yards, even the best of them, and give them to his servants. And he will take the 10th of your seed and of your vineyards and give to his officers and to his servants. See, so that was what was required to maintain the king and all his house. That verse 15 really hones in on it. It goes into the amount, a tenth of whatever you made, similar to the tenth we already gave to Levi. So now you had trouble giving your tenth to Levi as an inheritance, since we know that the Lord was their inheritance. All the tenth of Israel belonged to them. Now you have to give another tenth to the kings. That's 20%. Now you live off of 80% of whatever you make, but then 10 is going to go to the Levites, 10 is going to go to the king. It says, he will take your men servants and your maid servants and your goodliest young men and your asses and put them to his work. He will take the 10th of your sheep. Ye shall be his servants. And ye shall cry out in that day because of your king, which ye shall have chosen you, and Yahweh will not hear you in that day. The Most always had that forethought of knowing exactly what came with what we asked for. You know, as you read on, it tells you that the people, they didn't care after Samuel gave them that warning at the end. They still said, "Oh, give us a king, give us a king. We want a king like the other nations have a king." We see here to the other nations, it's very important having a physical person that's in charge, right? As opposed to just having laws that they can govern themselves by. Hence, one of these servants giving that as his answer, as yes, the king is strongest above all.
Let me ask you, what is that word of verse 13? Seminaries. Prostitutes?
That's a good question. That is that according to the commandments?
No, well, he's talking about being something else, though.
So what's that word mean? What's the definition of that word?
Let me look it up on my computer. Verse 13.
If the brother asked about husbandry, which is good. Now we got another question about confectionery. What's a confectionery? What's that word mean? I'm going to get more in the habit of having you guys do the research. Look it up.
That's what Shemach does with me. Hey, you looked that up? No, I was busy. No, but I can look it. I can Google that on my phone, but it's all.
Mm-hmm.
I'm reading that thing.
The plug is right over there.
Huh?
The plug is right over there.
Okay, I turned my phone on and she said, oh, okay.
You found it.
Going out break?
Yeah. I have an app on my phone, dictionary.com. You just put it, you can even put it in the Google search too. Do it that way. And I got a dictionary right here.
I got a dictionary too, but mine is what's called a dictionary.
Here, you can use this one.
That one ain't good?
No, English dictionary, not Bible dictionary. But it might be in the Bible dictionary too. Take a look and see. And if not, you can check in here too.
I got it on dictionary.com.
Okay, I'm gonna have him look this one up. If it comes to another word, I might have you do the next one.
Go ahead.
So what does it say? You don't have to play it out loud, but what does it say? Nice and loud, so everybody can hear.
I got it right here.
Definition of confectionery. Candy and other sweets considered collectively.
Yeah, it's a perfume. 1 Samuel 8:13.
What does it say? So yours says candy. It says what?
A perfume found only in 1 Samuel 8:13, what we read.
Perfume, only found in 1 Samuel 18.
Right. Good dictionary.
Okay. Let's see what this American Heritage Dictionary says.
Yeah, that one had this color.
So it says here, confection. The act of compounding, mixing, or preparing a sweet preparation such as candy or preservative, a sweetened medicinal compound, and electuary. Then it goes into a confectioner, confectionery as far as an adjective as pertaining to a confection. Okay, so yeah, someone who pretty much puts certain things together to make final product. Let's say it could be candy or it could be a perfume. So working with like herbs and spices and different elements. Okay. We see bakers in that list. Confectionaries, cooks, and bakers. Let's go back to First Esdras 4. The main reason I wanted to read that was just going into that we gave tribute to our king as well, a tenth in particular of our seed and of our sheep. So let's read on First Esdras 4. Let's read on in verse 7. The First Esdras 4 and 7. And yet he is but one man. If he command to kill, they kill. If he command to spare, they spare. If he command to smite, they smite. If he command to make desolate, they make desolate. If he command to build, they build. Right? It's going to the power of command that he has, right? To have people do his bidding, right? That power and authority placed upon him. If he command to cut down, they cut down. If he command to plant, they plant. Right? So all these different things. So all his people and his armies obey him. Furthermore, he lied down, he eateth and drinketh and taketh his rest. Right? So he's able to live and enjoy the necessities and certain pleasures of life, right? So he has the command of his army when it comes to militant pursuits. He has the command of his people according to certain domestic pursuits. Then it says in verse 11, these keep watch round about him, neither may anyone depart and do his own business, neither disobey they him in anything. Right? So you can't be under the king. The king makes a command, you just go, oh, I'm going to go and do this instead right now. Right? You do that, you're liable to face some kind of prosecution, right? Or depending on what it may be, depending on that kingdom, you might be put to death or exiled or whatever else, right? Or
exiled,
or fined. Depends on what the transgression is. Depends on what the kingdom is. So, reading on in verse 12, O ye men, how should not the king be mightiest when in such sort he is obeyed? And he held his tongue. So he said the king is mightiest. The other man said the wine is mightiest or strongest. So he finished his piece on what he thought. So now when we get to the third servant, in this case is one of our ancestors, Zerubbabel, part of one of the first generations that went back into the land after the Babylonian and Persian captivity. It says in verse 13, then the third, who had spoken of women and of the truth, this was Zerubbabel, began to speak. Right? So remember earlier on we read who each of them said was the strongest, right? You go back to First Esdras 3, verses 10 to 12. It tells you First Esdras 3 and 10. The first wrote, wine is the strongest. Verse 11. The second wrote, the king is strongest. Number 12. The third wrote, women are strongest, but above all things, truth beareth away the victory. So now it's his turn to explain why he said women are the strongest and the truth beareth rule above all. Right? And this is verse 13 back in First Esdras chapter 4. First Esdras 4 and 13 reads, then the third, whom had spoken of women and of the truth, this was Zerubbabel, began to speak. 14. O ye men, is it not the great king, nor the multitude of men, neither is it wine that excelleth? Who is it then that rule over them, or have lordship over them? Are they not women? Women have borne the king and all the people that bear rule by sea and land, right? He said, aren't women the strongest? Have they not given birth to everyone in the nation, right?
right?
Everyone in the kingdom? They wouldn't be here unless a woman, right, carried them for however many months. 9 typically, but sometimes less, sometimes more, right? It says in verse 16, even of them came they, and they nourished them up that planted the vineyards from whence the wine cometh, right? So during our first months, right, our first years, we're closest to our mothers, right? As far as that love and care, that nurture, right? That nourishment, right, through breast milk, etc., and so forth. And then feeding once we get old enough. Verse 17, these also make garments for men. These bring glory unto men. Without women cannot men be. right? So we know we our roles inextricably linked together, right? As far as men and women, right? You can't have a family without a man and a woman. You can't have a community without men and
I was
women.
telling them two females the other day, yesterday.
Uh-huh.
Y'all can't make no baby. Well, it's got, but anyway,
Right. So we're dependent upon each other to grow the community, to grow the nation, right?
right.
It says in verse 18, yeah, and if men have gathered together gold and silver or any other goodly thing, do they not love a woman which is comely in favor and beauty? So he's dealing with their answers as far as, wine and a king. But now he's saying, look all the things that men labor for, right? As far as, things for our subsistence. Do we also not labor to uh, add or to provide or to give to a woman, right? Especially a woman we seek companionship with, like we see in our law. Even before we married, we would have even a certain dowry we had to give to the father of that woman, right?
Right.
Before we could be wed. And like it says, comely in favor and beauty, because the scriptures talk about, a woman's attractiveness. They're not being anything better that we love than that. And that's a good thing, but of course it becomes wicked when it's all you love a woman for, just her outer appearance, and that's it. Just to link with verse 18, you can link it with Ecclesiasticus 36. Ecclesiasticus 36 in verse 22. And I'll get another one in Proverbs, and then we'll continue. But Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha 36 in verse 22. I'll read it. So Ecclesiasticus 36 and 22, it says, the beauty of a woman cheereth the countenance, and a man loveth nothing better. Yeah. So the beauty of a woman puts a man at ease, right?
Right. Oh, Lord, thank you.
Pleasing to behold, right?
Right.
But now, at the same time, we talk about don't let the flesh get out of hand to where you now lust after that woman, where you desire for, just like I said, just for the physical pleasure, as opposed to really wanting to take her to be your wife. So the other verse we can read too, this goes into the ultimate reason why we should desire a woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
Proverbs chapter 31. Proverbs chapter 31 and verse 30.
130. Oh, boy. Betty gave me that back in the day.
Which reads, favor is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman that feareth the Lord, she shall be praised. Right? So that inner beauty is what matters most. Right? Because the inner beauty is going to give you, as a man, peace of mind, right? You guys dwell together. You seek because for that righteous reason. That's why even today you have the expression, they call arm candy, right? This woman I got is arm candy, because you picked the woman just solely off of her physical aesthetic, as opposed to her values, right? And her competency.
You get up.
And of course, on the flip side, the same thing should go for women, right? They should seek a man not just off of how he looks or what he can provide, but also his value system as well.
Be a spiritual man.
Let's go back to 1 Esdras chapter 4.
Who will be your answer, sir?
Let's continue on. What's that?
Who will be your answer? Don't pick a man for what? Did you look?
You're asking a question, you said? For his righteousness.
Yes.
A man that feareth the Lord, he shall be praised, just like a woman.
Okay.
If a woman is going to be praised by who fears the Lord should be praised, it only makes sense a man that fears the Lord should be praised as well.
Right. You were God, you were alone.
That should be easy.
Time I checked Hebrew. Who did that's me?
So back to First Esdras chapter 4, let's read 19. First Esdras 4:19, and letting all those things go, do they not gape, and even with open mouth fix their eyes fast on her? Have not all men more desire unto her than unto silver or gold, or any goodly thing whatsoever? So now he's cutting at the wine that the other guy said. He said, even beyond wine and silver and gold, right? You know, wine could be included in that. Does a man desire anything more than a woman, right? And we see, like I say, even to this day, because we know back then they weren't dealing with the law like that. So he could speak what he's saying now. We can see that today, where so-called grown men be having a conversation. A beautiful woman walk by, and their whole conversation stops, and they just watch the woman walk by, or they say something to get her attention. Sometimes gentlemanly, oftentimes rude, obnoxious, right? Like a beast as opposed to a man. That's what happens. So he's going to continue making his case for why women are the strongest. Let's read on in verse 20. It says, a man leaveth his own father that brought him up, and his own country, and cleaveth unto his wife. Right? So you grow up, learn something, learn a trade, a profession, or what have you, get on your feet, and then you may go away, depending on where the woman is, and marry. Right? Verse 20, you can link that, of course, with Genesis chapter 2. That's what Zerubbabel is referring back to. It tells you that in Genesis, right? Man shall leave father and mother and cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh, right?
Right.
Chapter 2, in verse 24. You can just link that with verse 20. That's what he's referring to. Now, those of us that know the scriptures, we know the reference he's making. But back then, they may have heard what he said and been like, oh, wow, that's wise. Like we do today, we'll refer to scriptures when people ask us questions about things, right? How things should go. And without quoting verses, without saying, yeah, in the book of such and such it says this, we may just make a statement that's based on a verse in Genesis or Proverbs or wherever. And you'll see people go, oh, wow, that's pretty deep, man. I never thought about it like that. And the minute you say, oh, yeah, in the Bible it says that, they go, oh, whatever. They try to say, they go back on what they said. They get to trick the people to follow the word, right?
Right.
Say a whole lot of stuff, because even charlatans know this. They know to take bits and pieces of the Bible, but try to make it out as if it's their own wisdom, right? But then they take the wisdom of God and they mix it with their own thing. And people get caught up by God's wisdom, and they get corrupted by their own wisdom that they put into the mix. But they won't give credit to where the source of that knowledge came from. That's a very big thing. I'm sure if he was asked, he would say. But when they heard that, they said, "Oh wow, that's true." Man does leave his father and mother and go and cleave to his wife.
I gotta go. I ran into a woman. She is very spiritual. All right. And out there, that's right.
Right. So I guess you can link this with verse 19. And we'll write down to verse 20. But Ecclesiasticus has another good verse that deals with the appearance of a woman to not be deceived by it. Ecclesiasticus chapter 9. So go back a verse. Link this with forward 19 in your notes. So Ecclesiasticus, chapter 9, 5, and I'll stop down at 8.
What is that?
The Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha. Just some wisdom behind when it comes to, a woman's beauty. While you acknowledge it, at the same time, don't let it lead you to transgress. That's what's key. You'll lose your soul in the process, along with many other things. So Ecclesiasticus chapter 9 and verse 5, it says, gaze not upon a maid, that thou fall not by those things that are precious in her. Right? So nothing wrong with admiring a woman's beauty. But then when you gaze, like you're looking extra long, and then now your eye deceives you, now you begin to lust after her, right? As an object, as opposed to, seeing her as a full woman, right? And everything that makes her, that entails her.
Chapter 9.
Verse 5. Then it says in verse 6, give not thy soul unto harlots, that thou lose not thine inheritance. Right? So we know dealing with harlotry, that's wickedness, right? We definitely shouldn't give our soul to us. That's wicked. That's in the law that we're not supposed to have daughters that become harlots in Israel, right? That's not supposed to be at all.
Can you tell me who you have one more time? First Esdras, second Esdras.
I'm reading Ecclesiasticus as a linker.
Right.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 9, verse 5. I'm going to stop at verse 8. You know there's many other verses, but I just want to read those. It says, like I said before, give not that soul unto harlots, that thou lose not thine inheritance. So not only is it against the law for a woman of Israel to do it, that law really goes for all women. But we know when the wicked bear rulers they had for most of history, you have harlots, right? Because you wouldn't have harlots if you didn't have men that would patronize their business, right? That would seek harlots. Like they say supply and demand, right? Then it says in verse 7, look not round about thee in the streets of the city, neither wander thou in the solitary places thereof. So don't go looking around for, women like that. Like you're looking in the streets, like looking for, some action, so to speak. You got brothers that go, they'll just be out late at night just to see what they can see. But not out there for any good reason.
Ask a question there. Can a woman still be considered a nice woman and she don't know the scripture?
Nice, yeah, but not righteous.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah, you have all types of nice people in the world. People who have.
I mean, can you consider saying compare that person's righteous work?
No. A verse that you can go to for that. I like this verse here. Go to 1 Corinthians. 1 Corinthians chapter 15 and verse 33. This goes for the brother's question about if someone's nice, does that mean that they're righteous? Because Esau Esau will place a lot of importance on, nice. Like you'll see us out there teaching in righteousness, right? Or they'll see somebody who's up front speaking up on the right thing and they go, oh my gosh, they're so loud, they're so harsh, right? It could be us in the truth. It could be, people on TV, certain, personalities. And they'll say this because they're coming to someone's face or being direct, they'll say, oh, that's not the way. But what are they saying?
Nice.
Is what they're saying valid or not? That's the question, right? Because we know love is tough sometimes. Sometimes love is gentle, right? Sometimes love is tough too, right? You got to get to someone's world, depending on the situation. But you go ahead and read that, Brother Daniel. 1 Corinthians 15. and 33. Now, and I'll explain. This doesn't link with anything for folks watching, just for the brother's question. You definitely add it to your scriptures for what we're talking about. Mm-hmm.
First Corinthians 15 and verse 33. Be ye not deceived, and evil communications corrupt good manners.
Right. So Paul is saying here in the spirit, don't be deceived. Evil communication corrupt good manners, right? So you can be polite as all be, right? But then if you're like, hey, how you doing? Hey, come over here, have a seat. Yeah, this is we're having a rally for homosexuality, and making sure that we have more awareness behind homosexuality and how it's an appropriate lifestyle, right? What do you think about that? Right? So now I have good manners, right? But I'm presenting to you straight wickedness, right? You could be nice all day long, but be like, hey, come on, guy, how you doing? Hey, have a seat. Yeah. It's about 8 o'clock, and we're about to bow down to this idol real quick. So just make yourself comfortable, and we're gonna bow down to the idol, right? We're gonna eat some swine's food. We got some pig. We're gonna eat in honor of the idol, you know. So just make yourself comfortable, relax. Everything's gonna be great. And then people that don't know about the law or who could care less, they're just like, wow, what a nice person. He's so nice. He walked me through the whole process of worshiping the idol or eating this unclean food, whatever it is that's wicked. Yeah, so people can be nice all the time and lead you into a ditch, but very nicely with good manners. So nice is not righteous. But Esau put it out there like, if he's nice, people will say, oh, see, he's not so bad. He's nice. He's a nice guy. He's a nice white guy. He's a nice fella, right? Because he's trying to lower your defenses so that once you say, oh, hey, he's so nice, that's when he brings in that wickedness. And if you don't know the commandment, you're none the wiser, you fall right into the trap because they're so nice, right?
Oh, he's so nice. That's what y'all is so nice. Yeah, all right, I'm gonna be nice for a while. Right? I got something nice to
Come. So does that help?
need a nice girl.
Yeah. So hope that answers that question. So being nice has its merits, even for us, right?
Right.
We can use being nice to our advantage, but the whole point is the niceness should come with the righteousness of God. If you're nice, you got good manners, but then your communication is straight evil, talking about doing sin. What's your good manners worth? That's why I said evil communication corrupt good manners, right? And now you can read this. You can write down this verse too to go along with that. 2 Corinthians. This is on the flip side, just to show that you may be perceived as rude as far as where you may bring something out, but at the same time, right? What you're saying at least be something that is truth, that can help, that can edify, right? That can clarify. That's what's key. You're better off being rude in speech but speaking truth than polite speaking wickedness. But the excellency is what you bring out to someone gets the point across. Whether you come, directly or indirectly, if you come, with vehemence, with force, or you come calmly, right? Each situation may warrant a different approach, right? Depending on who you're trying to reach. So 2 Corinthians 11 and 6, you can write that as well. Well, 1 Corinthians 15:33. 2 Corinthians 11 and 6 says, but though I be rude in speech, yet not in knowledge. You call it the wisdom behind that verse. But we have been thoroughly made manifest among you in all things. We make jokes about this verse too. We say, Paul came from the tribe of Benjamin. We say this was I know down in especially in Jamaica and other Caribbean islands, they say the rude boy. They have an expression called, a rude boy, right? You always make that joke and say, he was the original rude boy. He says, I'd be rude in speech, but, that could just be a coincidence. So let's go back to First Esdras. I almost said second. First Esdras chapter 4. Let's read on. We already read for verse 20. We linked Genesis 2 and 24. So First Esdras 4 and 21 now. We're back there, right? In the Apocrypha. It says, he sticketh not to spend his life with his wife, and remembereth neither father nor mother nor country. By this also you must know that women have dominion over you. Do you not labor and toil and give and bring all to the woman? Right? That's part of the law too, right? Because it tells you in the law what? Her food or raiment and her duty of marriage shall ye not diminish. Right? So that's part of the commandment. Under the curse, we know this is something that our men are known for not doing, right? And we may even be tested at certain points where it may be difficult to do this. The whole idea is to what? Strive for righteousness, walking there straight and narrow. So that what? The Most High can bless you with the means to do so, right? Because that's lawful. The verse I'm referring to, you just write it down to link with 21. Is Exodus Exodus 21 and verse 10. This has a link. Because according to our law, growing up in righteousness, you can't take a wife to begin with, let alone if you can't provide that dowry, right, to the father. And then from there, you have that responsibility going forward for her. So reading on, I'll read 21 and 22 again. It says, he sticketh not to spend his life with his wife, and remembereth neither father nor mother nor country. By this also you must know that women have dominion over you. Do you not labor and toil and give and bring all to the woman? Yeah, man taketh his sword and goeth his way to rob and to steal, to sail upon the sea and upon rivers, just going into the world in general. Not so a righteous man per se, but what men do in the world. And looketh upon a lion and goeth in the darkness, and when he hath stolen, spoiled, and robbed, he bringeth it to his love. Right? To go upon our grand journeys, right? Face to face with all types of danger. We come back and we bring them and say, I almost lost an eye, almost lost an arm, lost a leg, but I came back with this, my dear, right? What do you think? Right? And typically, she looks, she goes, oh, you did this for me? Oh, thank you, oh, so nice. Or, hopefully you don't get the, oh, really, that's it? All you brought back? You say to yourself, oh, man. You had any idea what I had to face to get this? You don't even appreciate? I put my life on the line. Right. So this is chivalry in its purest form, right? Not the abuse thereof. It says in verse 25, wherefore a man loveth his wife better than father or mother, right? Because what's going to happen? Eventually, perhaps you might have children, and you become father and mother yourself. And you have sons and daughters, and they keep the process going. They keep the system going as far as them coming of age and then them having kids. They have kids themselves, and then when they come of age, they leave their father and mother and do the same thing, and it keeps going, right? Then it says in verse 26, yeah, many there be that have run out of their wits for women and have become servants for their sakes. Then it says, many also have perished, have erred, and sinned for women, right?
Right.
So when going above and beyond the bounds of the guidelines of what the Most High told men to be, it's easy for you to what? Now find yourself in trouble, making promises you can't keep, going above and beyond, saying things you're going to do, or go against the commandment, right? And now put you in danger, all to please the woman. Whereas a man of understanding will refrain and go, okay, look, this is as far as I can go at this point, for this reason. Or I'm just not going to go there because, I can't guarantee this or guarantee that. And even like not even thinking, you could say things out of your mouth that you, as a man, are going to be held to, right? All because of your love for the woman. And not taking that away in balance with your love for the Most High and the guideline that He holds for us to follow in Him. So to link with 26 and 27, here's some advice that King Lemuel was given by his mom herself to not fall into this trap. What we're reading here in verses 26 and 27. Check this out. So you can link this with 1 Esdras 4, 26 and 27. This is, we can go back to Proverbs again. Proverbs 31. Verses 1 to 3. To Proverbs 31 and 1, it says, the words of King Lemuel, the prophecy that his mother taught him. Right? This is advice that this man is getting from his mother. It says in verse 2, what, my son? And what, the son of my womb? And what, the son of my vows? Verse 3, give not thy strength unto women, nor thy ways to that which destroyeth kings. Right? So she's giving him this counsel or this advice that what? He not be swayed by the power of women to give over his power. If anything, he should empower them, right? But not to be beholden unto them, right? To be at their whim. Right? Which can easily happen to a man that lacks understanding, right? Even a man that has understanding that's afflicted, the Most High will at least find a way for that man to level himself again, right? And get back into a position of some kind of power, some kind of authority over himself, where he can be in a place to help out his woman or his children or both, or other brothers and sisters that are in need. So if anything, you want to always have some kind of exchange where you can exchange or always have something that you can at least bring as far as, to the table to provide or to add unto, as opposed to always being one with your hand out. Like if you're just going into not leading a beggar's life, right? That goes for, men and women, right? And to not fall into that situation if you can help it. Because if you're found righteousness, you can get afflicted. You can go through a situation where you're brought down low. The Most High will still find a way for you, right? To at least provide for yourself, be it through other means, through himself, through him directly, or through others he may put in your path to help you get over that hump. But for our brothers and sisters that's in the world, right, that runs on tough times, it could be quite some time before they can do anything for themselves, right? They will run from one pitfall to another pitfall, right? It seems like they've always got a rain cloud over their head, right? Always trouble just stuck to them like glue, right? And that's what we're up against when we're just in the world. It's like a crapshoot. Things can work out, things can not work out. They work out just enough for folks not to repent and turn back to the Lord. So certain of our people, especially ones we see a lot of times on TV, they'll tell you, yeah, it's how I got to where I'm at by doing X, Y, Z. Not realizing that everything they did, the way they went about doing it, they followed the heathen to get there. And that when it comes down to it, the Most High is going to take that wealth gotten by vanity from them, give it to the righteous. We know it's ultimately going to happen when Christ comes back, right? It's going to be known who the Most High's children are amongst Israel. But it could happen even before then. Like we see now with Israel, right? That, played the game, right? Like the heathen do, and they get jammed up, right? Oftentimes for the same things that the fellow heathens do the same thing, but then they get, a slap on the wrist. Whereas with us, we get that full book thrown at us. That should be a testament to show us, wow, we can't just play their game because they're going to use that game against us. More and more it's supposed to edify Israel for them to see, at least some of us to see, wow, we really got no other option but to turn to the Lord for our ultimate protection, because there's really no safety, there's really no security in this world, right? There's nobody I can meet. There's not enough money I can make to protect myself from these heathen. They want to come after me, they're going to do it. They're going to come with full guns ablazing. So that's a good thing in that it's going to turn some of us back to the Lord, because he wants us to be reminded that he is our ultimate protection. He is our shield. He is the wings that cover us, right? That protect us from the storm clouds and the rain when it comes in. Right, so that was Proverbs 31, 1-3. The link with, once again, 1 Esdras 4, 26 and 27. Let's go back to 1 Esdras chapter 4. He's going to go into an example now that they all can relate to for the king at that time, or the people who were in power at that time in Persia now. 1 Esdras 4 and 28, it says, "And now do ye not believe me? Is not the king great in his power? Do not all regions fear to touch him?" So he's co-signed with the other guy say, right, about the king being the strongest. But then look what he says after verse 28. Then he says, "Yet did I see him and Apamane, the king's concubine, the daughter of the admirable Bartacus, sitting at the right hand of the king." Verse 30, "And taking the crown from the king's head and setting up upon her own head, she also struck the king with her left hand." So she saw this king, but you saw this woman, Apamane, right? His concubine. So she just took the crown off his head and was like, right? Sat on her own head and said, even hit his arm, right? But then,
I thought you slapped his face. Shut up.
oh, it said his face. I'm just kind of thinking of, what women will do when you say something they don't like.
I'm going with the face.
They'll kind of hit you like that, right? But maybe it's the face. But let me read on, right? I'll read 30 again. "And taking the crown from the king's head and setting it upon her own head, she also struck the king with her left hand." 31. "And yet for all this, the king gaped and gazed upon her with open mouth." Right? Even with doing that, he didn't say, Give that crown back now, otherwise you will be judged, blah, 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 right? He just, she's so dreamy, right? So it says, the king gaped and gazed upon her with open mouth. If she laughed upon him, he laughed also. But if she took any displeasure at him, the king was fain to flatter, and he might be reconciled to him again, right? So if she got mad, whether she was sincere or not, oh, my dear, what is the matter? What can I do to make it right, right? So clearly, he's using an example they all can see and showing forth that his answer had to be the wisest, right? And women are stronger than the king and wine, right? So Zerubbabel laying it on, and he's using examples to prove his point, right? And clearly, they're all saying it, but he hasn't gotten to the best part yet, right? Verse 32. Oh, you men, how can it be but women? How can it be but women should be strong, seeing they do thus, right? Then the king and the princes looked upon one another, and so he began to speak of the truth, right? So he gave his piece on women, right? Said his reason why, and they spoke to each other, probably like, yeah, guy's got a point. Okay, yeah, wine, okay, the king, all right, but wow, women can do that even to the king. And they even referred to someone that they all knew, right? That was in the court. But now he comes in the truth. Remember, his answer was, women are strongest, but the truth bear rule over all, right? That's his full answer. And he's got to go into the truth now. Verse 34, it says, O ye men, are not women strong? Great is the earth, high as the heaven, swift is the sun in his course. We can pass the heavens round about, and fetcheth his course again to his own place in one day. Is he not great that maketh these things? Therefore great is the truth, and stronger than all things, right? So the truth bear rule over everything that we can perceive, right? The people, be it men or women, right? The land, the sun, the moon, right? The stars, all those things. The truth is what keeps all these things intact. It says, all the earth calleth upon the truth, and the heaven blessed it. All works shake and tremble at it, and with it is no unrighteous thing. Wine is wicked, the king is wicked, women are wicked, all the children of men are wicked, and such are all their wicked works. But there is no truth in them. In their unrighteousness also they shall perish. Right? So now he really shut down everything with the truth. He even shut down his own answer. Right? He said, yeah, while women are stronger than the king and stronger than wine, when it comes to the truth, it's stronger than everything. Right? Because in the wickedness of men and women and the choices that we make, that still corrupts them, takes away their power, all their authority, based on the role that the truth plays, right? And how powerful the truth is, right? To maintain this whole setup, this whole system, right? The whole dynamic. It says, 38, as for the truth, it endureth. It is always strong. It liveth and conquereth forevermore. With her there is no accepting of persons or rewards. She doeth the things that are just and refrain from all unjust and wicked things. And all men do well, like of her works, right? You see the her being referred to here. Obviously it's referring to wisdom. Wisdom you see is likened unto a she, right? Feminine. Her there in the English, that's what it means. Because in the Hebrew, just like other languages, certain words or certain concepts have either masculine or feminine, gender associated with them. Not necessarily just tied to men and women per se. Like the moon per se. The moon is referred to as a she. You read the Hebrew, right? That's what you'll see in the English. The moon, her, she does this, right? Her, this is like this, right? So it's just alluding to a wisdom, which is a she when you read the scriptures, or feminine, if you will. So it says no accepting of persons or rewards, because back then, just like now, in men's courts, they show favoritism, right? Based on, I like so-and-so's music. I like how so-and-so dances. Oh, so-and-so, that's my buddy's, that's my uncle, that's my friend. So-and-so looked me out last election, right? It gave me a nice donation. I'm gonna turn a blind eye and not judge them according to the right or the wrong that they do. So,
Like in the courtroom?
right, use that as an example. That's what he means here when he says, when it comes to wisdom or the truth, there's no accepting a person for her. So he's trying to, he's level setting all the things you're talking about as far as what's strongest, the king, wine, women, right? And saying when it comes to the truth, they can't be compromised like how they can, right? They're all, as far as the strength that they have is all pale in comparison to the truth itself. It says, but she doeth the things that are just, and refraineth from all unjust and wicked things. And all men do well, like of her works. It says in verse 40, right? Conference. I think we had a little blip. So just refresh your browser if I went dark. I should be back on now. So St. John chapter 17 and verse 17 reads, yeah, I heard someone just dial in. Just do a refresh in your browser. I saw that there was a break in the feed. Just refresh your browser. We should be flowing again, in case it went out on your end. So St. John chapter 17 and verse 17, it says, Christ speaking, sanctify them. We know what it means to sanctify, right? What does it mean to sanctify? I've asked this before, we should know. Sanctify. Cleanse. That's it. Excellent. So sanctify means to wash or to cleanse, right? So sanctify them, because we'll say that word a lot, right? We'll say, I am sanctified, right? By the blood of Jesus, right? But not even know what that means. Or be saying it and not realizing, now you corrupt us all get out. As far as what you're saying and doing, you corrupted. You're in the world. You're talking about another Jesus, not this Jesus. Right. Sanctify them or cleanse them through thy truth. Thy word is truth. See that? The word likened unto the truth. It's the same truth that Zerubbabel is talking about, right? And in case we're confused about what the word represents, right? We can go to Psalms. For example, we can go to Psalms 119. Psalms 119, the biggest chapter in the Bible, right? We can go to verse 142. So Psalms 119 and 142, and also I'm going to read another verse in the same chapter, verse 151. Where's the semicolon? So Psalms 119, 142, it says, Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth. The psalmist here is saying that the Most High's law is the truth. Then it says in verse 151, same chapter, thou art near, O Yahweh. You see Lord all caps, where you say his name in the Hebrew is Yahweh, right? Thou art near, O Yahweh, and all thy commandments are truth. See that? Psalms 119, 142, along with 151. And to attach wisdom to these laws, we can also read in Ecclesiasticus. Ecclesiasticus, chapter 4. Ecclesiasticus, chapter 4, verse 11 down to 19.
First, second, together. Only one Ecclesiastes.
Unless you got hidden books you don't know about. Most I gave you some more understanding. I don't know.
Ooh, you mad?
You say one, right?
You thought he was talking about Esdras. He didn't say Esdras, he said Ecclesiasticus.
Oh, that's back there.
Ecclesiasticus. Uh-oh.
Oh,
See, you brothers are missing books in the Bible. See, y'all don't have the whole truth. See,
We got the lost book. What are you talking about?
See, you missing wisdom, brother. See, you need to come and learn this. You know, at the camp, they want to throw little books at you. Oh, you don't know about that book? They try to walk off. Like, oh, y'all still got to learn.
Where you get those lost books from, Kawan? I want to know.
So I'll just read this real quick. I don't want to go too long, but just with that, we have the idea. And we see the she that Zerubbabel is talking about. Ecclesiasticus chapter 4 and verse 11, it says, wisdom exalteth her children. So the subject here, that's a she, is wisdom. And layeth hold of them that seek her. 12, he that loveth her loveth life. And they that seek to her early shall be filled with joy. He that holdeth her fast shall inherit glory. And wheresoever she enter, the Lord will bless. They that serve her shall minister to the Holy One. And them that love her, the Lord doth love. Right? Whoso giveth ear unto her shall judge the nations. He that attendeth unto her shall dwell securely. This is the benefits that come with dealing with wisdom, right? This is what we're learning to do now, right? Building ourselves up step by step, ultimately to what? Have rule over the entire planet, right? We're going to be heirs of the God and joint heirs with Christ, right? Like Paul wrote in Romans. We're going to reign with Christ if we are found worthy. It says, 16, if a man commit himself unto her, he shall inherit her. His generation shall hold her in possession. But check this out, verse 17. This is the not so fun part, right? For at first she'll walk with him by crooked ways and bring fear and dread upon him and torment him with her discipline until she may trust his soul and try him by her laws. So she's not just going to be like, oh, here I am, wisdom. Learn this, learn that. No, she wants to see if you're going to apply the basic principles first of wisdom, right? You're going to contain yourself as far as, okay, let me not be a spendthrift, right? If you got issues with spending, you got sticky fingers, or you just got all types of lust you don't keep in check. Nothing wrong with having desire. She wants to see if you can contain yourself, right? So not lust, whether it be, like I said, for having fun or food or women, right? Or whatever it may be, or men in the case of women, right? She's going to torment him with her discipline until she may trust his soul and try him by her laws, right? See if you're going to get in line. Then will she return the straight way unto him and comfort him and show him her secrets. But if he go wrong, she will forsake him and give him over to his own ruin. So we got grace, right? We know we're not going to get it right the first time, but we allow the flesh to get the best of us, right? And then allow other doctrines to creep in that'll suit our desires. I remember we were talking about that last night, Zakar. We were talking about how oftentimes, because of the lust of the flesh, right?
Right.
And because of the afflictions folks go through, they'll decide or pick a doctrine or a set of beliefs that allow them to lust all they want,
Right.
right? They'll say, you know what, I don't want to change myself. I'll change my guidelines to suit what I want to do.
Right.
Or I'll follow a system or a guideline or a certain God or a system of worship that'll prevent me from going through any type of suffering, where I won't get sick, or where I won't, lose my things, whether it be through, robbery or fire or whatever, or so I won't lose people I care about, right? It's oftentimes the reason why people go to like a medium or a witch or, they'll oftentimes go to a witch or a soothsayer or somebody like that to find out what's coming around the corner so that they can avoid that affliction, which may be,
That's bad too.
yeah, against the law, which they'll do that to see if they can avoid that pain, which actually may teach them something. It may be something they have to learn to better themselves. But they'll go to these people on the left-hand side, and make these pacts with unclean spirits and say, look, let's make a deal. If I just give up my soul, whatever, make it to where I don't get illness, or that someone I care about doesn't get sick, or that I don't lose the money I've made, right? Or that I'm given a certain gift or talent, or that I have my youth or the way I look. I want to have this for so many years. I try to make deals like this, not realizing what really truly has value. Right? They're taking something that has lesser value and placing more value on that than what really truly has value above that, which is the fruits of the spirit. Your soul, your character. That's what sets you apart. That's what we read earlier, right? Favor is deceitful, beauty is vain, but a woman that feareth the Lord, she shall be praised. Right? So beauty, aesthetics, wealth, riches, right? These things are vain. If that's all you look to as being important. But now if you fear the Lord, that's what sets you apart. That's what truly gives you that value beyond what most men can see. That's why the scriptures say what? A man shall be worth more than fine gold. They'll be known in that day. And we're getting close to that time now. But the way people see things now, people have less and less value, right? They say, oh, well, look at this. I can't perform on the job. Machines are doing my job now. Can do my job so much faster, right? I'm just getting in the way. I'm not viable anymore. Thus, we see that way of thinking rising now, as we see, knowledge being increased, men going to and fro. We're building and designing things that are placing people in the workplace, and now people have less responsibility, and therefore they have less self-worth in their own mind. They feel like, oh, I can't do, what I do isn't good enough. This leads to other things like depression, suicide, right? Things like that. So with all the knowledge of, the advancement of technology, it seems to be wisdom lacking when it comes to people's well-being, right? You see Esau going back and forth about, okay, technology is good, but it's not good. It's good because of this, but it's not good because of that. How do we balance it out? Like a juggling act. But for the folks who own the corporations, own the capital goods, like, hey, sucks to be them. At least I'm making more money. I can get machines to do what I had to pay somebody to do before. That's its own discussion. But yes, the value of of men and women, the souls of men and women, can't be compared to any of these physical things that we may design or build. But that understanding isn't really out there like that, because for the carnally minded, all they see is, okay, how much money can I make with this? And they don't see anything else. But anyway, going back to First Esdras, chapter 4. I read verse 40. I'm going to read verse 41.
Back to First Esdras, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let me see.
So First Esdras, chapter 4. I'll read 40 again and then read on. So First Esdras 4 and 40. Neither in her judgment is any unrighteousness, and she is the strength, kingdom, power, and majesty of all ages. Blessed be the power of truth, or God of truth. 41. With that he held his peace. All the people then shouted and said, Great is truth, and mighty above all things. So he artfully presented this to where even these people who were in the world, right, that were in the Median Empire, they couldn't deny the wisdom that he spoke with. We know the scripture said it already. The way he brought it out, the way he set it up, as far as not only outshining them with his answer of women, but then taking it a step deeper and saying, even beyond all three of our answers, what can beat the truth when it comes to the power of might that it has? So now they're acknowledging it. Wow, great is truth and mighty above all things. Then said the king unto him, Ask what thou wilt more than is appointed in the writing, and we will give it thee, because thou art found wisest, and thou shalt sit next to me and shall be called my cousin. So remember, that was the deal, right? We read in the last chapter. Whoever out of these three servants, whoever had the wisest answer, he will be given this gift, right? Or this reward, so to speak.
This is something they did every year, or did the king tell them to do that, or they came up with their own plan?
They came with their own plan.
And they asked the king that they present their letters.
Right. We read that, what, 3 weeks ago?
Yeah,
First Esdras,
read it before.
First Esdras 3 tells you that they came up with it.
Yeah. I'm thinking that they did that every so often, but they just decided to do that all of a sudden. They did that like every couple of years. They would come up and see what they could do.
Right. Go back to First Esdras 3. Start from verse 4 and just read down. You can read it out loud, because folks may just be coming online for this part of the story, so that might be confusing to them too.
Okay, 3 what?
First Esdras 3 and 4. It's not really a link. It's just really answering his question.
Okay.
We already read this.
You want to read that?
No, you got it, brother.
Okay.
You asked the
It
question.
seemed like a while one was enthusiastic about reading it more than I was.
I think you want to know where we were reading, right? But
Yeah.
it's your question, so I think it's appropriate you read.
But if you want me to read it, I can.
Well, no, I'll read it, but it sounded like you wanted to read it. Okay.
Start off with what yet?
First Esdras 3 and 4. Then 3 young men that were of the guard that kept the king's body spake one to another, that every one of us speak a sentence, he that shall overcome, and whose sentence shall seem wiser than the others, unto him shall the king Darius give great gifts and great things in token of victory, as to be clothed in purple, to drink in gold, and to sleep upon gold, and a chariot with bridles of gold, and an head tire of fine linen, and a chain about his neck. And he shall sit next to Darius because of his wisdom, and shall be called Darius his cousin.
Right.
So they made that up.
Right. And Darius heard it, and he said, okay, no problem. Let's hear who has the wisest answer.
Okay.
So that's where it started.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I guess if you want, you can link that with 42. Get this question, because you may be reading it now without reading chapter 3 and say, oh, why is he saying that he can be his cousin? Or like he's like part of the family. Why is he saying that to him? Because that was the agreement they came up with back in First Esdras chapter 3. You started from 4 and you read down to 7. I'll read 42 again, and then we'll keep going. So let's go back to First Esdras 4. I'll read 42 again. It says, Then said the king unto him, Ask what thou wilt more than is appointed in the writing. We will give it thee. So he said, I'm going to give you not only that, but I'll give you even more if you ask it. Right? Because your answer was that great. Because thou art found wisest, and he shall be sit next to me and be called my cousin. Then said he unto the king, Remember thy vow which thou hast vowed to build Jerusalem in the day when thou camest to thy kingdom, and to send away all the vessels that were taken away at Jerusalem, which Cyrus set apart, when he vowed to destroy Babylon and to send them again thither. So he's not even thinking about himself, right? carnal man could have been like, yeah, I want this, I want that, for himself. But Zerubbabel is thinking about his people, right? And using this advantage he has now to now get favor with the king to allow his people to go back to Jerusalem, go back to Israel and rebuild what was destroyed, right? So he's asking to remember that record that was written by Cyrus before him, where we were given that allotment to go back and to build back up again, like we read in the previous chapters. Then it says in 45, thou also has vowed to build up the temple which the Edomites burned when Judea was made desolate by the Chaldees, or the Chaldees rather. And remember this? For verse 45, you could link this because we even wrote a psalm about that when it was going on. For 4 and 45, you can link it with Psalms 137. Psalm 137.
That when he said raise it?
Yep, that's the verse. So you remember that, right? Which raise there, raise has more than one definition. Raise there means to destroy, right? And based on the context, we're going to see exactly what it talks about.
It's almost like French, where you said no, and mean yes. You know how they say no, and he really mean yes in French.
But yeah, we was yes in French.
Who was that, Mexican? We should know, and he really mean yes.
C is yes in Spanish.
What languages I'm talking about?
Let me know.
Me no sure. It's no. I can't. I gotta find out what that language is. No mean yes.
Okay, yeah, but let us know what you do. But Psalms 137 and verse 7, it says, remember, O Yahweh, the children of Edom in the day of Jerusalem, who said, raise it, even to the foundation thereof, right? So they were there cheering on the Chaldees, which were the Ethiopians, when they came in and destroyed it. They were helping out. Remember, they were right underneath us in the land. So they were helping out as the Babylonians were destroying it. It's kind of like if you have siblings and then you get in trouble with, dad or mom. And then your sibling kind of hops on board and is like, yeah, he was doing this too and doing that. It's like, hold on now, like, what's all this about? Why you got it out for me? What's this got to do with you? It's between me and dad, me and mom, right? Why are you co-signing? Why trying to make it worse? That's what they did. They co-signed with the Babylonians. They're like, yeah, let's get us some takings too. So it's recorded. They're gonna be judged because of that.
Now, that wasn't when Rome actually destroyed the temple, though, right?
It's way before.
That was before that?
This went around, this thing was 586 BC.
586, yeah.
When the Babylonians destroyed the temple. That's what this is talking about.
Oh, okay. And that was the Ethiopians that time?
Yeah, because the original Babylonians were Ethiopians, right? What we call Ethiopians today, well, Cushites. In class, we were going through the nations, right? Remember the Hamite nations? We talked about that in the Friday class. We touched on the beginning of Babel. That Babel was started by Cush's son Nimrod. That's like their ancient forefather.
All right, okay.
And then Nebuchadnezzar, he was descendants of those same Cushites, but at a later time.
Cushites were the ancient Ethiopians.
So it says, remember, O Yahweh, the children of Edom in the day of Jerusalem, said, raise it, even to the foundation thereof. Verse 8, O daughter of Babylon, who art to be destroyed. So he calls Edom daughter of Babylon, right? Because you look at Esau, when they came to power, they followed the same worship, the same customs, right? And we even see today with Esau, they worship Hamite gods when it comes to their form of worship, whether it's the obelisk in DC, comes from Egypt. Christmas trees comes from Babylon, right? Comes from Nimrod. They take the same worship and incorporate it into their belief system, right? And the mystery religions that they follow, whether it be Freemasons or Rosicrucians, whatever else they're into behind the scenes, or the Kabbalah. There's a lot that goes back to the worship of Hamite or so-called Africans gods, along with their mysticism, witchcraft. They just reinvented it and given it, new names, giving it new characters, but it's the same worship. So it says, O daughter of Babylon, who art to be destroyed, happy shall he be that rewarded thee as thou hast served us. So it goes around, comes around, right? You want to help out in our destruction. That's supposed to be handed out by the Babylonians at this point. Now you're going to see the same thing. Then it says in verse 9, happy shall he be that taketh and dasheth thy little ones against the stones. Right? That's going to, we mentioned about being a prophetic. That's prophetic there because Mosiah is calling them out because he knows what they did and what they're going to do even in the future when they would have the power over us. They would do the same thing, right? You read about what they did even to the northern tribes when it came to North America, taking the kids and then bashing them against rocks, right, to kill them. When they couldn't meet certain quotas, whether it be for, digging certain gold or minerals or giving them certain crops. They had very strict guidelines they put up on the northern tribes when they came to North America and the Caribbean. Used to play soccer, right? Cutting off the head and playing soccer with it, right? Like it was fun.
The Indians.
Esau did that to northern tribes.
Yeah, I said the Indians.
So-called Indians.
Right.
They thought they were in India. That's why they called them Indians. So that's why I don't call them that.
But we call them the northern tribes.
Right. Or you're better off saying Native American.
Native.
But they're not really American either. None of us are really American.
Right.
I know. So much confusion.
Truly. I was with this other class. You familiar with the Germans putting us in cages like monkeys?
Us.
Black people.
You
heard about that?
I have a document going into them having blacks as in captivity, but I'm not sure if they were Israel. It's kind of from what the document that I have is kind of a toss-up. They might have been Hamites.
Okay. Yeah.
But you got to show me what you're talking about. It might be something different.
Yeah.
But let's go back to First Esdras 4. First Esdras 4 in verse 46. And now, O Lord the King, this is that which I require, and which I desire of thee. And this is the princely liberty proceeding from thyself. He's acknowledging the authority the Most High gave him, right? Asking that he will give him this power to go back to rebuild the land back up. I desire, therefore, that thou make good the vow, the performance whereof, with thine own mouth thou hast vowed to the King of heaven. Right? The same promise that was made before we could what? Go back to the land of Israel, like we read in the previous chapters, right? As far as Cyrus said he would do. And even with the prophecy said that Cyrus, the older, he would play. As far as being the one to allow us to go back into the land. After, our 70 years under the Babylonians. Then Darius the king stood up and kissed him and wrote letters for him unto all the treasurers and lieutenants and captains and governors. They should safely convey on their way both him and all those that go up with him to build Jerusalem. He wrote letters also unto the lieutenants that were in Celesyria and Phoenicia, unto them in Libanus, that's just the Latin way of saying Lebanon, that they should bring cedar wood from Libanus, right? Cedar came out of Lebanon, right? Remember you going back to Solomon's time, when he was with the Hiram of Tyre, right? King Hiram provided the Lebanon, the cedars that came out of Lebanon, right, for construction. Bring cedar wood from Libanus unto Jerusalem, and that they would build the city with them, or with him. So just like we built the city out of cedars from Lebanon before, from the time of Solomon, now's the time we rebuild it again. So of course, when you use the same good quality wood like we did before, that was in Lebanon. Moreover, he wrote for all the Jews that went out of his realm up into Jewry concerning their freedom, that no officer, nor ruler, nor lieutenant, nor treasurer should forcibly enter into their doors, and that all the country which they hold shall be free without tribute, and that the Edomites should give over villages of the Jews which then they held. Any villages they took from us during the time of our captivity, to release them and allow us to go back into those same villages, right? Because the Edomites weren't the top empire at that point. This time it was still the Persians that were still the dominant one. But now, a couple hundred years later, we know that's when the Greeks take their reign as the top empire. But that wouldn't come until later. This time, Darius, he's that dude, right? He's that top government, that top empire in the world at that time, the top army. It says, yeah, that there should be yearly given 20 talents to the building of the temple until the time that it were built. Even 20 talents being given is like an allowance or a funding towards us rebuilding the temple again. And other 10 talents yearly to maintain the burnt offerings upon the altar every day, as they had commanded to offer 17. See that? So even money to go towards the burnt offering, because they knew, according to our custom, that we needed to do that continually, right? We had the altar there so we could do the offerings. As we're going to read going forward, before we even had the temple built, we at least started the offerings. We had the altar burnt offering, set back up. And then once we did that, then we, laid the foundation and then built up the temple once again. But it wasn't something that just happened overnight, but we're going to see that as you read on in the story. Verse 53, and that all they that went from Babylon to build the city should have free liberty, as well they as their posterity, and all the priests that went away. He wrote also concerning the charges and the priest's vestments, wherein they minister. So priests got to be in order too, as far as their robes, right? That they're cleansed, and all the costs associated, right? Because we can't set the temple back up when the priests themselves aren't set up the way they need to be set up to do the job appropriately, right? To run the temple appropriately. 56, he commanded to give to all that kept the city pensions and wages. He sent away also all the vessels from Babylon that Cyrus had set apart. All that Cyrus had given in commandment, the same charge he also to be done and sent unto Jerusalem. Now, when this young man was gone forth, he lifted up his face to heaven toward Jerusalem and praised the King of heaven. So, obviously, this is a great thing, right? That the head of the Medes, this King Darius, he's actually honoring his word, because when it comes to anybody in the world, whether it be heathen or our people, them honoring their word, you hope that they do it, but there's a chance they may not. They may say, you know what? He did promise that, but I don't care. I don't want to let you go back. I want you to stay here under me. Right? I'm not going to let you go. Like Pharaoh, right? I'm not going to let you go. You told me to let you go, but no. I want you here to work for me and to build up my government. But now, through the Most High's mercy, he's allowing us to now begin to go back into the land again, right? So this is a grateful occasion. And for him to give resources taken from us, allow those resources through the Persian and the Mede government to flow back unto us to help us rebuild things again and get things back where they used to be. Right? So this is a great thing that the Most High is doing for us. As we see, as we read before, the Most High, he controls the kings of the earth. Presidents, the prime ministers, the CEOs, right? Corporations, the heads of banks. Most High controls them with puppet strings. He'll make them do things for us if we serve him on high. But if we don't, we're really just at their whim. They may do right by us, but more than likely they'll harm us, right? Either directly or indirectly, or both. So let's be reminded in these days that the Most High can have the heathen do things favorable for us if we serve the Most High in truth, because we know we're not in that position like other nations are to really call their own shots. We have to depend on the Most High's power and depend on His mercy to do anything. It says, and said, verse 59, From thee cometh victory, and from thee cometh wisdom, and thine is the glory, and I am thy servant. Blessed art thou who hast given me wisdom, for to thee I give thanks, O Lord of our fathers. Because remember, it's because of the wisdom the Most High gave him that he even won the contest, that he had the best answer, right? So first of all, Most High, thank you for the wisdom, because without that, we wouldn't even have been in the position that we're in now, right? So thank you for that. It's kind of reminiscent of Esther, right? Had it not been for Esther, her beauty inside and out, they wouldn't have had that opportunity to what? For her to get close to the king enough, she could have a law be written, right? Become a queen herself, have a law written that could what? Prevent the Jews from being destroyed by Haman, right? During the time of Purim. The Most High will use us at different times as vessels for our own salvation, right? As saviors, like he did for Esther and her uncle Mordecai. He's doing it now with Zerubbabel. It says in verse 61, and so he took the letters and went out and came into Babylon and told it all his brethren. And they praised the power of their fathers because he had given them freedom and liberty. So he went to his people that were still in Babylon in captivity and told them, look, here's what the king, did for us. He granted us this ability to not go back. Who's with me? Who wants to go back and rebuild the homeland, right? Go back and rebuild Jerusalem. 63, to go up and to build Jerusalem and the temple which is called by his name, the Most High's name. And they feasted with instruments of music and gladness 7 days. So this was a grand occasion, right? That the Most High would give them this opportunity to go back and to rebuild. We just linked up this last verse, going back to when the first temple was built, back in 1 Kings chapter 8. So 1 Kings chapter 8 and 29, you can link. Link this with 4 and 63. So 1 Kings chapter 8 and 29. It says that thine eyes may be open toward this house night and day, referring to the temple that Solomon had just built during this time, right? He was king, the one that was destroyed. Even toward the place of which thou hast said, my name shall be there, that thou mayest hearken unto the prayer which thy servant shall make toward this place, right? Just showing that his name shall be there. Remember, this even goes back to what? Deuteronomy. So you can make another jump to Deuteronomy chapter 12 to connect with 1 Kings 8:29. So Deuteronomy chapter 12 in verse 11. Deuteronomy 12:11 linked with 1 Kings 8:29. Deuteronomy 12 and 11 says, then there shall be a place which Yahweh your power shall choose to cause his name to dwell there. Thither shall ye bring all that I command you, your burnt offerings and your sacrifices, your tithes and your heave offerings of your hand, and all your choice vows which ye vow unto Yahweh. Right? Because remember, at this time in Deuteronomy, we were still in the wilderness, right?
Right.
We hadn't gotten to the land yet. When we get to the land, and after the time of the judges, finally during the time of the kings, which began during the time of Saul, then David, then Solomon, then we actually had a place where we were going to establish it, which was going to be Jerusalem, right? City we took from the Canaanites that was called Jebus before.
We had left Jerusalem because of Pharaohs, right? Well, we was running wars or something. That's when we left Jerusalem, right?
Then we left Egypt.
Okay, we left Egypt.
And then we were in the wilderness for 40 years. Then we went. Then we went to
Before we
Canaan.
came to Egypt, we left Jerusalem.
It just says Canaan. I'm not sure if we're in Jerusalem per se, or Jebus, because that was the city it was called Jebus under the Canaanites.
So God told us to go back to Jerusalem or Israel.
We prophesied we would go back as a nation much later. But
To Jerusalem.
right, but we weren't in Jerusalem before. Like Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they were around in that region, but I don't think they were in Jerusalem specifically. They were in certain cities around Jerusalem, depending on where you read in Genesis. I think then it was still called Canaan, because the Canaanites dominated. It was just our family,
We had never made it there. We had never made it there, like you said, around Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob time. We didn't make it to Jerusalem yet. We was in the area.
Right. Right.
Because we hadn't even gotten to Egypt yet.
Right. So because we didn't go up into Egypt until the famine. That's when Jacob sent his sons up there to go and get seed, and they met Joseph, who was up there ruling. Remember?
Yeah.
That's how that began.
They didn't know who he was, but he knew who they was.
Right. Exactly. That's how that kicked off.
Hey, that was a movie, remember?
The only land we had in Canaan was I think the city was called Bethel. We called it Bethel later. I forget what it was called by the Canaanites, but it was a plot of land that Abraham bought that he had himself and Sarah buried. Isaac and Rebekah were buried there too. And then later on, Jacob and Rachel and Leah, they were buried there as well. No, I'm sorry. Jacob and Leah, I think, were buried there. I'm not sure. I think Rachel was buried somewhere else, but it was close by. But I have to go through it again. But they bought a piece of land from, what do they call it? The children of Heth?
Yeah.
That was at the beginning of us having anything in that land, was during that time. They bought the plot of land where they would be buried. As far as going back there and taking it over, that wouldn't happen until Moses and come out of Egypt and the time of Joshua. That was later.
Shalom.
Hey, Shalom.
Shalom. Shalom is I'm looking at the Sabbath through YouTube, and it's just pausing.
Okay, it looks fine on my end. Maybe try to refresh it.
How YouTube does.
Yeah, it hiccuped earlier on, but since then it looks pretty smooth on my end. So perhaps refresh the browser.
It has those circles and just keeps going around and around those circles and whatnot in the middle of the screen. I don't know what to do about that.
Yeah, I would maybe try closing the browser, closing any other things you may have opened possibly.
All right, fine.
If you did it already, maybe try it again. But we're about to close out this chapter. So hopefully when we create the new link, the feed will be a bit better. And I'll make sure folks here that nobody's on the Wi-Fi, so it doesn't hurt the data flow.
Do all the time.
Again, the boss, why don't you bring that to my attention?
And I got the package also.
Okay, excellent. Wow. Kun. All right, Shalom. So Deuteronomy chapter 12. Deuteronomy 12 and 11, which links with 1 Kings 8:29, which links with 1 Esdras 4:63. But that answers your question, right, about what came first, and who owned what, and who was where.
We was running from a war, right? Somebody chasing us.
You saying Israel?
Yeah. That's the only way we would leave that far was this is to run into Africa.
That was the last exodus we made.
That was when we came out of the Roman Empire.
Right.
We exited. That's how they got their word.
When Roman took over the city, that's when we ran out.
Okay. Roman
That was way later.
How far away later?
The last exodus.
That's 2,000 years ago.
Okay.
You guys have those links, right? For
Almost got it.
all right, cool. So we'll take a break at this point. It's 12:50 now. Feel free to get something to eat. Obviously, something that doesn't require heat. And most times we'll reconvene around 1:20, 1:30 at the latest. And then we'll finish out the second half of the service, which is 1 Esdras chapter 5. So we'll talk to you then.
1:30, all right.
So Shalom.
Go on.